we have working on yourself. Now, some of these things you might say, oh, Justin, what does this have to do with sales? You know, why can't we just get to the super secret thing that the person says that it's gonna make them triple their sales in the next 5 seconds? You know, and I think a good answer to that is like, you know, think of LeBron James, right? Think of an NBA player. You see them showing up and they play in the game, right? But there's a bunch of other things they're doing in between the game, on the day of the game. There's all these things they do to maximize that performance when they're in the game. And so some of the stuff we're gonna be talking about in this video is stuff that you're doing to prepare yourself so that when you're in the game, you execute. Whereas if you don't do these things, then you're not gonna be able to show up the same way. So that's the purpose of this. Everything in this series of videos I've thought a lot about. It's in here for a reason. It's in here because I believe it will help you to sell more, and then it helps me to sell more, and I believe it was important enough to include here. So I promise everything is gonna be relevant to increasing sales. So working on yourself. This video is gonna be fairly short because I have my whole playlist, The Art of Fulfillment, which is really about, you know, what do we want? How do we move in that direction? Kind of personal development type stuff, which is sort of what I'm talking about here. But I just wanted to briefly talk about it because I feel like it needs to be in here, and it needs to be said that it's important. So I guess just the main thing to share on this topic is that there's a great line by Jim Rohn that says everything affects everything else, right? And so it's not just like you have your sales career and then you've got all these other parts of your life and they're all in these little boxes and they're all over here and you sell over here and there's no connect. Like, it's not that way. You know, we can try to have it be that way, but we're very interconnected of all these areas of our lives. They all affect each other. So at least for the shortness of this video, but to communicate the point, you know, one of the things I love to tell to my clients is you can see your life kind of like a garden, right? So you've got this garden and then you've got all these different plots of the garden of all these different areas of your life. So let's say, as for spirituality, right? You've got spirituality. You've got your health, right? Family. Money, career. Romance, intimacy, love. Your passions, things you love to do. Friends, friendship. Adventure. So these are some of the main categories of life that I track for myself and with my clients. And so what you can do is you can rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in every single one of these categories. And you really want to go about defining what a 10 is in every single one of these categories and incrementally improving all of them. And I tell my clients, if you have anything in here that's a 3 or below, it really needs your immediate attention. So let's say, you know, you've got your sales career over there and you're thinking that it's separate, but you're fighting with your wife or your husband and your romance relationship is a 3. And your health is shitty. You haven't been sleeping, no form of physical activity at all. Health is suffering, health is a 2, right? Maybe you're good in all these other things, maybe not. I'm just giving a quick example. These are affecting this. I know you don't want them to. I know you'd like to believe that they don't, but I find that they do. I find that all of these affect each other. I find that they're all kind of like webbed together, and that they're all part of the momentum of life, right? The better job we do with all these things, we start to get momentum and we go up. The worst job we start to do with all these things, we get the negative momentum and go down. I think life is a lot about momentum and just building that up and getting that to build in our favor. And so you really want to keep in mind that the more positive momentum you can build here, the more positive momentum you'll build over there. And the reverse is true, right? The more all this is a royal mess, probably going to be more likely that's not good either. So you can just start to think for yourself, rate yourself scale of 1 to 10 in each of these categories. And if romance is a 3, maybe you think, okay, well, what would a 10 be? And then or even if you can't even handle thinking of what a 10 would be, at least think of what would like a 3.5 be? Like, what would I need to do to get to a 3.5? With health, what would I need to do to get to like a 2.5 or a 3, right? How can I incrementally improve these things? I think one of the things about human beings is we don't really have to be exactly where we want to be right this second, but we do have to be going in that direction. So even if you go from a 3 to a 3.5, you might think, oh, what good is that going to do? But it is going to do good because you're moving in the direction, and that's kind of where that fulfillment and excitement and things like that come from, is from going in that direction. And if you go from a 3 to a 3.5, then you can increase that again, and you increase that a handful more times, and all of a sudden things are going pretty good. So we don't have to spend too much time on this because, like I said, that's sort of what my entire other service is about, the Art of Fulfillment, right? That's a separate service that I have. There's sales consulting, Art of Fulfillment consulting, right? But this has to be in here in the sales consulting, at least in this brief way, for you to know that working on yourself matters. If you work on yourself, then there's another quote. It might also be from Jim Rohn, where it's like, I might get the quote wrong. Maybe you guys are familiar with this quote, but it's something like, he finds that your income will not far exceed your personal development, something like that. And so, your personal development, or kind of how your life is going, or the amount that you're working on your life, things like that, is a mess. It's gonna be hard for your income to be extremely high, and like you're not working on yourself and your life is a mess. So, for people who have sales teams, whether they're putting in the time on themselves or not is going to have a major, major impact on how they sell. So now, so far, we've got state, how they show up, huge impact on sales. Story, what they're believing about what's happening, huge impact on sales. And then working on yourself. So you can already see in these first couple of videos that, the average salesperson is probably state not so great, story not so great, probably not putting in that really hard work on themselves. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. And it's having a major, major impact. So working on yourself, important part of it. Now, let's move to the next point.